Hello again and welcome to another video from the Marketing Study Guide. In this video we're going to have a look at the 4 ways of calculating relative market share. My name is Jeff and I'm a long-term marketing lecturer and practitioner. The 4 approaches we're going to have a look at. The first is the traditional approach to relative market share, which is simply looking at the market leader. The second approach is looking at a segment leader, then a set of competitors, and then finally a set of competitors using positioning. So this is up here this could be direct and indirect competitors. Here we're just going to look at our direct competitors. Now the calculations we're going to show you are just for unit market share only, but you could also do the same calculations for revenue market share once you see how they have done. Please note I have a separate video that talks about the difference between unit and revenue market share and why you use one versus the other. Okay, I've just strolled down to my data in Excel. I have 10 firms, I have unit sales, total revenue, etc. and I've put them in order. As you can see, I have market shares there already, which is simply, as you see the formula there, is simply the sales for the firm over the total for the market. That gives me the unit market share, and obviously these add up to 100%. And I've got the duplicate there for revenue market share, price premium, but we're not going to talk about that in this video. Okay, to calculate relative market share, the traditional way, the first way is against relative to the market leader. Now, firm 1 is the market leader, so they need to compare themselves against the second player in the market. Everybody else, from firm 2 downwards, they compare themselves to the market leader. Okay, I'm just going to put a $sign in that formula and then copy that down. And that gives us the relative market shares for everybody. So in the traditional formula, there can only ever be one player that is greater than 1. Okay, because they're the market leader. Everybody else is below them. So they are benchmarked to the market leader. They will always be less than 1. And obviously more than 0 if they have any sales. So this is a decimal, or you could treat it as a percentage. So they're 69% of the share of the leader. And obviously the closer we can get, and we track that over time, the better. So this is a measure of how we're performing against the number 1 player in the market. Obviously down here at 0.7 or 7% market share, not overly a great performance, and we've got some work to do. Okay, the second approach is to look at perhaps some sort of firm segments or groupings. Okay, and we could do that a couple of ways. I'm going to do it on positioning later. But here I've got unit sales, 82 down to 28,000 and then 9 to 5. So we've got some larger firms and some smaller firms. So obviously larger firms have, better brands and better retailers and a lot stronger, etc. So it makes sense for us to compare like for like. So another way of doing this formula is to compare yourself to similar size companies only. So I've already calculated those, so I would bring them across. Obviously we would recalculate them if you wanted to, but we've already done it once, so there's no need to. And then we just repeat for the smaller group. So firm 6 now is actually the market leader of the smaller players. And then the market leader, so we compare themselves to the second player. And as I mentioned before, the second player and everybody else gets compared to the market leader, which is firm 6. Now those numbers are not quite 1 because in here they're fractionally different. Okay, and then we just copy that down because I've linked it. So here firm 10 before had 7% of the market leader because they're 5,000 in sales. This is 80,000 in sales. Now there's 60% of their similar size players. So for a smaller firm, this makes a lot more sense. This is just discouraging when you're 7% market share. They're probably not going to catch up anytime soon. there's probably not going to be a lot of catching at all. This number won't move around and not a lot. And if these are dominant players up here, this number could get smaller. So from a marketing performance perspective, it's probably not effective. Very happy with the top firms, that their numbers haven't changed. But if you're a smaller player and you are competing more directly with the smaller players, this calculation makes a lot more sense. Okay, the third one, which is a set of competitors. Here what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to put a formula in. So I just pause the video for a second. Okay, I'm back. I've put a formula up here, which looks a little bit complicated, but I'll just explain what I'm doing. F20, I'm working at the relative market share for firm 1, so I'm using 28% there, the F20. And then I'm dividing it by the sum and the red box, sorry. I'll bring that back up again. Then I'm dividing it by, if I pull this red box, there's a red box under there, the sum of those, so I'm looking at the segment again, these 5 firms, I'm looking for the sum of them, and then I'm pulling out 28. So I'm adding them all up, taking the 28 out, and then dividing by 4, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's really summing those numbers, dividing by 4, and then putting the 28 over the top. And I put a dollar sign in there, and the reason I've done that is I can now drag that formula down, and it applies to all these players. So this one here has the same formula, and they're dividing against the average of those. So it's a little bit complicated. You can see it sitting there for you, but it just means I can drag and drop the formula. Okay, so what we've seen is firm 1 has gone from 145 to 190 because it's comparing itself to the average of that, of the average of the big firms. Okay, so before it was comparing itself directly to number 2, and now it's the average of 2 to 5. I mean, you can have more or less firms, long as they're roughly the same size. I've got 2 groups here. You could have 3 or 4 groups of clustered competitors as well. You can do this more frequently if you wanted to. Now what we have is firm 2. They've gone up. Now we have a second player above the average, because the average here you can't see it is 18%. So they're slightly above average. So that's fine, but it tells us that in the dominant group, the larger group of companies, it's one of the more dominant players. This player here was 35%, is now 50%. Okay, so that's also gone up because again it's comparing itself to the average, right? rather than the market leader. So it gives us a relative measure of how we're comparing ourselves to the overall group, which is good. And I would then just repeat that formula down here. Now, as soon as I do that, all these things are out of whack. The blue is in the right spot, and I just drag this down. And then I can repeat the formula here, and it's done. And you can see I've got 2 players. Again, they were very similar, but they're a third better than their direct competitors. And there's people who here were at 0.7 versus their market leader. The segment leader was 0.6, and now they're 0.7 versus the average. So again, comparing yourself to the average of a number of competitors is probably going to be worthwhile. The reason is, if you compare yourself to one player and they do particularly well, or or for some reason suffer a downturn, your relative market share is improving, or otherwise, based on something they're doing. If you're tagging yourself or anchoring yourself to a set of shares, then you have a much better benchmark of how you are performing overall in the marketplace. Now, the reason we look at relative market share, keep that in mind, is these numbers could go up and down, but if our overall set of competitors is going up and down, and we're moving consistently or improving against our direct competitors, that's good news. That's why we look at relative market share rather than absolute market share at times. We look at both, obviously. But looking at a set is often going to be a much better and more stable reflection of our performance. Now, the next one I want to look at, and the last one, is against a set of competitors based on positioning. Now, here I've just looked at size. Okay, so based on unit sales and obviously revenue, same sort of thing, over 100,000, less than 100,000. But when you look at price premium, we can see here in this group, we've got the market leader here who's 37% price premium to the market. And this one here is the opposite. They're well below the price. So they are actually different types of brands. And this one's even worse. So it makes no sense necessarily to be comparing yourself to indirect competitors. We need to look at direct competitors. So I've got the same table down here, and what I've done is I've ranked it in price premium. So the numbers are exactly the same. The firms have been reordered based on price premium. And what I would do is, in this case, I would put them in, well, they're premium products. Then we've got 4 brands that are roughly around the average price in the marketplace. And then I've got 4 discount brands. And this is going to be quite helpful for me. So again, I do the same thing. So here I've only got 2 players. So I just compare themselves to each other. Okay, so that one's done. Okay. Here I do the same thing as I want to look at sets. So I'm just going to copy this formula from up here. And what I'll need to do is to rearrange it. This red is up here, so this is going to come down. Oopsie, too far. Make sure I line it up. So I've got, if I bring that down now. Okay, I've got weird numbers, they're all more than 1. And what's happening is I have to change that to divided by 3. So whenever you see weird numbers, there's always got to be numbers above 1 and below 1. So keep that in mind. And then I just bring that down here again and do the same thing here. Just going to drag down. It's dividing by the right number this time. Okay, so we have against our competitors. So what we have is we have a very dominant premium brand. Okay, so compared to its next nearest similar competitor, it absolutely dominates it. Okay, so it's fantastic position they're in. Firm 7, who we had up here on sort of size, is doing, it's the baby premium brand, if you like. Then we have our mid-priced products or brands, and you can see that they have a 10% advantage, 5% advantage. So 2 and 4 are outperforming 9 and 8. And then we've got our discount brands. So you can see that Firm 6 is in a lot of trouble. It's got a very cheap price, and it's got a 3% share, and even relative to its competitors, direct competitors, it has 63% share. In terms of size, it's doing okay. And so it does well here, but it's just underranked. So this is probably the best approach, because we're grouping the competitors based upon similar positioning in the marketplace. These are our direct competitors, and this becomes our tracking. And I'm tracking against a set of competitors, not just one. So if there's changes overall, we can see what's happening quite effectively. So hopefully that was helpful. Okay, I'll just bring that formula up again if you want to have a look at it. And yeah, please subscribe to my channel and look for more videos.